Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, Attorney General Kris Mayes joins us in studio to discuss a variety of issues. Also tonight, increasing concern over a noticeable decline in the state and nation's bird population. And we'll look at how mental coaching can help athletic performance. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. The Epstein files continue to grip Washington. The Wall Street Journal today reports that U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi informed President Trump earlier this year that his name appeared, quote, multiple times in a review of documents related to the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein, a sex offender and one-time friend of the president. The Journal's report cites senior administration officials who also said that the documents included other prominent names. Also today, a federal judge in Florida ruled against a Justice Department request to release grand jury transcripts of the Epstein investigation. The administration wanted the transcripts released to answer increasing criticism from many of the president's supporters, but the judge ruled that releasing grand jury information is generally prohibited except in narrow cases, and this was not one of those. Of note, the administration only wanted the release of information limited to the grand jury case, not the entire Epstein investigation, which again includes mentions of President Trump, according to the Wall Street Journal. Also of note, late today, a U.S. House panel voted to subpoena files from the Epstein investigation as the push for disclosure intensifies. Other headlines: the acting administrator of FEMA appeared today before a U.S. House committee looking into the federal response to the deadly floods in Texas. Among those questioning FEMA's actions, Arizona Congressman Greg Stanton.
Mr. Richardson, you were nowhere near Texas at the critical moments in the search and rescue, and you did not even show your face for more than a week after the flood. You are the administrator of this critical agency. You're the leader, but you did not lead as you are required to by federal law. But worse, you seem uninterested to learn what went wrong and how to respond better. Do the victims and survivors in Texas deserve an apology?
What happened in Texas was an absolute tragedy. It's hard to fathom. I went to Texas, I flew over. It was an absolute tragedy. My heart goes out to the people in Texas.
Yeah,
I know that there was...
That was intended as a yes or no question, and I'll appropriately take that as a no. Mr. Chairman, this wasn't just incompetence. It wasn't just indifference. It was both. And that deadly combination likely cost lives.
The FEMA chief not only didn't apologize, he later said that he didn't think FEMA did anything wrong in responding to the tragedy. An economic note: housing prices in the U.S. jumped to a record high last month. That's according to the National Association of Realtors, which reports that the median price of a previously owned home hit $435,000. That record high price helps explain why home sales were down last month, falling 2.7%. Realtors point to high interest rates as another reason for lagging sales numbers. Arizona Attorney General Kris Mayes has joined more than 20 lawsuits against the Trump administration, most recently involving changes to the Affordable Care Act and the release of federal education funds. To talk about these court actions and more, we welcome Attorney General Kris Mayes. Good to see you again.
You too, Ted. Thanks for having me.
Here. Thanks for taking some time out from suing the Trump administration for showing up on the show. We appreciate it.
To be precise, it's 24 times.
24, okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was more than 20, but
Yeah.
you know, it's a moving figure.
It is.
Let's before we get to those, I want to talk about you've come out very strong against ICE agents wearing masks when they're apparently, reportedly, and what they say is doing their job. Why?
So, look, as the state's top law enforcement officer, I think it's important to tell it like it is, which is that real lawmen and women do not wear masks. We don't in Arizona, for the most part. In some very rare circumstances, if my officers, my special agents are going undercover or doing very sensitive investigations, we'll wear masks or not wear our identifying information or identifying badges, but that hardly ever happens. And so the problem is that by allowing ICE to wear masks, it creates these sort of what I think are safety concerns in situations where people don't know who's arresting them, who's detaining them. And, you know, we're already starting to see copycat situations where criminals are, you know, dressing up like ICE agents and in some cases, in a couple of cases, kidnapping people. And we know the individuals in Minnesota, the legislators who were assassinated by someone who was, you know, dressed up like a police officer. So it's unsafe, and it also destroys trust in law enforcement writ large, I think.
And yet DHS, ICE, they say that they have to do this. It protects officers from assault. It protects officers from their identity being shown online, doxing, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, look, I mean, we all, in law enforcement, we all have to deal with the potential for doxing. But, you know, so this is something that we all live with. You know, I get doxed, you know, I get threats. This is something that we live with. But you have to balance that against the possibilities, the other possibilities that are raised when you allow people to wear masks. And so from my standpoint, and I think the standpoint of a lot of AGs across the country, and just law enforcement, police officers, and police chiefs that I've spoken to, they say it's not necessary, and we don't do it.
Yeah, and last point on this, ICE is saying that's a nice argument. ICE agents will continue wearing masks.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I have expressed directly to ICE that in Arizona, I don't want to see it, but as you know, that's not my call per se.
It is your call whether or not you're going to join lawsuits or instigate lawsuits or somewhere in between. 24, you say now.
24.
The Obamacare lawsuit involves changes to the Affordable Care Act. And talk about those changes and why you decided to join in here.
So my criteria for when I decide to join Arizona into a lawsuit against Donald Trump and the administration, Elon Musk and Doge, et cetera, is number one, does it violate the Constitution? Is it unlawful? And number two, does it harm Arizona? And in this case, clearly both of those factors were met. It was unconstitutional and unlawful what they did. It violated, you know, the APA. You know, many of these situations violate the separation of powers. And more than 400,000 people in Arizona, Ted, will likely lose their health insurance under these changes that the Trump administration unilaterally made without Congress's approval.
This shortens the enrollment period. It increased out-of-pocket costs. I think it kicks Dreamers off of ACA as well.
Right.
The administration says that those numbers are inflated because all most of these people have to do is do the paperwork, do the documentation, cross the I's and dot the T's.
Well, look, this is what they're saying, but look at what they're doing. What they are doing is throwing roadblocks in the way of people getting health care that those people are due. And they're, in addition to that, Ted, they're doing it in a way that is blatantly unconstitutional or unlawful. And so, you know, as the chief legal officer of Arizona, I have to file that lawsuit.
And this would also, I believe, force states to do something to pick up some of this slack, does it not?
You know, yeah. I mean, in a lot of these cases, yes, and in almost all of these cases, they're expecting the states to pick up the tab for what they are trying to dump on us. And you know, our legislature, I don't hear any stirrings of our legislature coming back into session to address this or any of the other holes that the Trump administration is blowing in our budget with these executive orders.
What about the education lawsuit and the funds that are supposed to be released by the administration? Some were. Do we know how much were released and how much Arizona got?
Yeah, so they sort of capitulated on the 21st Century grants. That's a small portion of the $132 million in education funding that they ripped away from Arizona schools. This is funding that, again, was already appropriated by Congress, is due to the states every July 1st, and state schools and school districts rely on this funding for everything from, you know, after-school programs, This is going to leave parents in the lurch as school starts, here right around the corner in the next couple weeks. Summer programs, teacher support, school safety officers. So we're going to see police officers who lose their jobs because Donald Trump unilaterally decided to do this.
And again, the lawsuit is because A, what you're saying is it impacts Arizona, but
Yes.
B, it was enacted illegally.
It was enacted illegally. I mean, they did not have the authority to do this. It is a violation of the separation of powers. Only Congress could do this. And then it was also a violation of several other statutory provisions.
But this and the other lawsuits that you've been involved with and the state has been involved with, what the president's supporters will say is he is the president. He does have the authority, the executive authority, to do as he wishes with these types of things. Is he wrong? Are they wrong?
Yeah, that's a monarchy. We don't have a king in this country. That is absolutely antithetical to what our system of government is. And so that's why it's so important for the Democratic AGs or AGs writ large. I wish we had some Republicans who would join us in these lawsuits because, keep in mind, we're winning, Ted. We went back and looked at those 24 lawsuits. We've won 80% of them. But the Republican states, which have Republican AGs, are not filing these lawsuits, which means those states are getting harmed really badly.
The filing of these lawsuits, and you mentioned Republicans in state are criticizing you for spending time doing this, and they point to a recent report in the Arizona Republic regarding open meeting laws. You closed up to 100 open meeting laws, lack of resources cited, these sorts of things. First of all, what's that all about? And is that something that, if you weren't involved with some of these other lawsuits, you could have taken care of?
No, and in fact, the record shows that I have handled more open meeting law cases than my predecessor did, who was a Republican. And in fact, it's the legislature who isn't funding my office appropriately. We came into office and found an enormous backlog, I think of more than 900 open meeting law cases or 800, something like that, that hadn't been handled or were sitting dormant. So we started whittling away at that. And then more recently, as we continued to work on these cases, we looked at the ones that were really old, very stale, and sent letters out and said to folks, look, you can refile this with us, but we think this particular one is too old. That's what you're talking about. But that's a red herring, and it's obviously something the Republicans want to throw at the wall as I continue to uphold the rule of law.
Have any of them been refiled?
I'd have to check on that. I don't think so, but that, again, it just shows you that they are cases that, maybe shouldn't have been sent over in the first place, perhaps, or just kind of resolved themselves.
All right, so when critics say, you're too busy doing this, you should be doing that, you say?
I say look at everything that we're doing, from protecting consumers against fraud, from reviving antitrust law in Arizona, to going after the Saudis and the water that they are taking out of western Arizona, to being the AG who has seized more fentanyl than any other attorney general in Arizona history. See what we're doing, see what we're accomplishing.
All right, Attorney General Kris Mayes, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
You too.
I'm Chef Mark Tarbell. Welcome to Check Please Arizona, the show where Arizona residents recommend their favorite restaurants. In this episode, we're feasting at an Italian deli, a European-style bistro, and a restaurant serving modern cuisine alongside old-world cocktails.
Delicious, very tasty.
Crispy, and the inside was juicy. Way more filling than I was anticipating.
Yeah, it's stacked full of flavor, too. I had the same thing.
Thursday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
If you live in Arizona, you know this state is home to some of the most famous landmarks and natural wonders in the world. This episode is about none of those. We're visiting those locations that are amazing in their own right, but you might not hear about unless you ask a local. From deep underground to a marshy lake to the tallest lookout on a mountain, this episode is about hidden gems.
Thursday night at 7:30 on Arizona PBS.
There's been an alarming decline in bird populations in Arizona and around the country, with the sustainability of about a third of all U.S. bird species of high or moderate concern. We learn more about this from Erica Flores of Audubon Southwest. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So the 2025 State of the Birds report, that doesn't sound very encouraging here.
No, and Arizona is actually one of the most biologically diverse states in the nation. And even here in Arizona, we have some of the most vulnerable bird species.
Why is this happening?
So this is happening for a number of reasons, but one of the biggest is a changing climate. Here in Arizona, it's been getting hotter, it's been getting drier, and birds really rely on stable conditions for them to be able to find food and also to breed. So when we have these different temperatures, rising temperatures, and changing weather patterns, it's really making them struggle.
I was going to say shifting habitat, not just for the bird, but for the thing the bird feeds on and the whole chain, correct?
Right. So birds rely on our monsoon rains and our winter rains, not only for cooler temperatures and water, but also for food, so insects and wildflowers. So for example, the rufous hummingbird comes and is a migratory bird, and they're looking for wildflower blooms. And so when they don't see that, when we don't have that rain and that type of temperatures, then they look elsewhere.
So water scarcity obviously is involved with climate change. What about just simple old-fashioned pollution? Is that is that still a factor?
Yes, so it's pollution, wildfires, also development. All of those are contributing factors to changing this changing habitat for birds.
And when you mention development, what about like tall building? Are birds flying into buildings? Is that a factor?
Yes, that's also a factor. And that's something that we encourage people to do as well at their homes, is to put decals on their windows so that that can help prevent bird collisions.
Interesting. So when I was reading about this, controlling pests, dispersing seeds, pollinating plants, this sort of business. As we mentioned, there is a chain there. Are the birds at the wrong end of the chain, or are we talking about literally a canary in the coal mine here?
Well, birds are very important for our ecosystem, and we have to remember that the environment that birds have, we share that environment with them. So when they're sounding the alarm, then we need to pay attention and listen.
Yeah, and birding itself for Arizona in terms of tourism, big deal, huh?
Big deal. We have a lot of birders that go especially to southeastern Arizona. We have a lot of different habitats here in Arizona as well. We have the grasslands, arid lands, forests, and riversides, and that brings along birds. But even people we've been talking to that regularly look for birds, they've been noticing, those birds that I usually see along the riverside, I haven't been seeing them lately.
Is it happening more in some parts of the state than more than others, or is it just basically general?
Well, this is across North America that it's happening across the country. And I think we notice it a lot here in Arizona because of those rising temperatures and the changing climate, and as well because we have such a biologically diverse state.
I was going to say, so the lower levels of Arizona, the desert areas as opposed to higher levels, is really not all that much difference there. You see a bird, and that bird is probably, there's a concern over the bird.
We have some of the most vulnerable species here. So some of the most declining birds are actually arid land and grassland birds, and we have both of those here.
Yeah, okay, that's say, average homeowner, you mentioned putting stickers or something in your window to keep a bird from flying in. What can the average homeowner do?
There's a lot of things that they can do. So they can make their home more bird friendly. They can plant native plants. They can add feeders to their gardens. And also something that we don't talk about a lot, but cats. Keep your cats indoors because they also contribute to a lot of bird deaths. And then we also have conservation projects, community science programs where they can help us count birds and survey birds and also support their leaders and policies that help protect habitats that help birds and people.
And I know you referred to this, but are there specific specific plants for specific? I know, the milkweed gets the butterflies. So what kind of plants are really good for birds? Again, in general.
So we have plants for birds on our Audubon website.
Very good.
And it's a really great tool where people can put their zip code and then they will see all of the native plants that would be perfect for their area.
Okay, that's the Audubon website?
Yes,
And
audubon.org.
Audubon.org.
Yes,
Okay, so is there any sense that this could turn around, or is it following the climate lead?
So birds are very resilient. We just need to give them what they need. And so I'm hopeful that people listening will pay attention and realize that this is happening and realize that this is the same environment that they're sharing with birds and that they will help us conserve habitats for birds and people.
All right, Erica Flores, Audubon Southwest. Good to have you here. Good information. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, the Trump administration's latest efforts to beat China in the AI race by cutting regulations. That's at 6 on Arizona PBS.
A lot is heard about the physical part of athletic workouts, but not as much about the mental side of athletic coaching and its importance in getting the most out of athletes. And joining us now is Hunter Lessard. He's co-founder and head mental performance coach at Mavericks Athletic Performance. Welcome to Arizona Horizon. Good to have you here.
Great to be here. Thank you.
All right, you're all decked out there. You got everything going there with the Mavericks. Yeah. And you're talking mental performance for coaching athletes. What exactly does that mean?
So that means getting inside the mind of an athlete, right? And especially baseball and softball, where we prioritize our development, is, it's a game of failure. And so a lot of kids will shut down, a lot of athletes will shut down, and we even see this at the big league level. Something that comes to mind is David Ortiz, Big Papi with the Red Sox. He got a bad call in a game, struck out, ended up, beating the phone at the Orioles park. And so allowing yourself to reset, allowing yourself to overcome the adversity and not let it play a role down the road, that's where we focus.
So you're talking cognitive training, but aligning it with physical training. How do the twain meet here?
They meet, they're one and one, right? So if one's working together or one's off, then you've got an issue, right? But if they're both working together, we've got some serious success. So if we look at athletes at the highest level, number one, they're very physically talented, very physically gifted, but they're very mentally in tune, right? They have confidence, they're able to reset, and they're able to, be in the moment. Being in the present moment is key.
Are there besides being in the moment, are there other psychological factors that affect performance?
Absolutely. I mean, self-doubt is one that just crushes performance. Fear.
It really does, doesn't it? I mean, it's like if you're a golf course and you're facing a putt and you think you're going to miss it, that's not going to help matters any at all.
Not at all. Whether you think you can, or you can't, you're right. And I think that was Henry Ford that said that. And so as these athletes, are in that moment, how are they talking to themselves? Are they talking to themselves in a positive way, or is it a negative and disempowering way? And so that's where we try to align ourselves to get the most out of them. Positive, optimistic thinking has shown to improve results.
Give us an example. Let's say I'm a baseball player and I'm coming in and I've got the talent, but the mind's all messed up here. How do you make sure that these two things are more coordinated?
Yeah, it's different for everybody. There's no cookie cutter process, right? Meeting the athlete where they're at. I would say, do they carry themselves with confidence, right? How does their body language look? Number two, how are they responding to failure, right? Because being a game of failure, you're going to fail way more than you succeed. And 7 out of 10 times, you're going to get out. And that still puts you in the Hall of Fame at the highest level. And so how can we get them to be more confident aligning those two?
Are there sports, though, where you don't, one failure and you're out? I mean, ball game, you know, if you miss a height or you miss a jump, or gymnastics, you don't do that for the flip or whatever, you're gone, you're adios. I mean, does that mean different kinds of training, mental training?
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's different visualization techniques. We do a lot of different visualization techniques, open eye, close eye.
What does that mean?
So, you know, we take them through some breathing practices, and they will close their eyes and they'll imagine themselves having success before it happens. There was a really cool study done at Harvard University where they took 3 groups of people. So they had Group A, Group B, and Group C. Group A, for 30 days, shot free throws, they practiced. Group B, they didn't do anything at all. And Group C, they were allowed to practice in their mind, but they weren't actually able to take a shot.
Right.
And over the course of the 30 days, Group A, being the physical shooters, improved the most. I think it was 24%. And Group B didn't improve much. Group C improved 22%.
Wow.
And so looking at those statistics, how much does the mind play in terms of our results?
Getting A and C together is basically what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Subconscious.
Yes.
How much does the subconscious play into this? I mean, you can say and talk to yourself all you want, but I'm still going to miss that putt.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've got the conscious mind and you've got the unconscious. 70% per the statistics, everything that we're programmed with is negative and limited. So being that we're trying to train them to be more positive, more optimistic, they're going up against that programming and conditioning, and so they didn't get it from themselves. They got it from somewhere else. Maybe it was school, maybe it was a parent, a friend, somebody that cared and said, hey, that's too big of a goal, or you're not fast enough. They take that in and they own that. And so getting them to start to realize that, hey, that's not mine. I can choose the way I want to think, the way I want to feel, and then can I align my actions in a manner that's going to get me to where I want to go.
And real quickly, does this kind of thought, this kind of mental training change with talent level?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, you got to meet them where they're at, right? So a big leaguer, obviously at a whole different place than maybe a 10-year-old that's at our camp right now.
Right. But I'm talking about an adult who might be not the big leagues, but still wants to play well on the softball team, and they come to you. It's similar, but not the same.
Absolutely. Yeah. Peak performance, mental training. I mean, I think it's the next wave. I think
well, this is really fascinating stuff. It's so different than sports psychology. It's the same, but it's a little bit different here, and it really seems like it makes a difference. Hunter Lessard, Mavericks Athletic Performance. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.